Okay, so you've had a fight with your boyfriend. Now what? Babe, these are the exact tips that you need to know on like how to make up from a fight with your boyfriend and like how to apologize correctly, and also like how not to like further exaggerate things and to just like get the situation to a better place. So I'm going to talk you through those exact steps on how to like make up from a fight with your boyfriend. Okay, I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on this first tip because it's a no-brainer and there's no negotiation on this tip, girlfriend. In person, your conversation, your apology, your makeup, hopefully, I mean, your fight, I guess, like it should all be in person. It should not, do not do it over text. Do not think that you can fix this situation as well over text. I know that he might not want to talk to you in person. I know that you might not want to talk to him in person because it's scary. It's easier to text things. But girlfriend, you get your phone out, you call him and you say, hey, can I come over right now and we can talk about this? Hey, I'd really like to talk about this after I get back from work. Can I come on over? You set up a time, a schedule, and get your butt over there as soon as you can. Like, I'm a firm believer, the sooner we talk about problems, the better it is to fix them. So talk about it in person. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If he doesn't want to meet in person, you just wait and like force the subject. I remember this young man that I was like dating, and he threw a big fit about something I'll tell you more about in this video. And he just like didn't want to talk to me. He started like ghosting me on the phone and stuff. And so I just like showed up at his house and I knocked on the door and I was like, hi, is so-and-so here, to his mom. And then I was like, hi, do you want to hop in my car and we can talk about this? You know, because they didn't want to talk about it and I did. So in person, when it comes to your apologies, to talking about your fight, in person. Okay, now that you are in person, like face to face with your boyfriend, and you are talking about this fight, the first thing that you are going to do is you are going to apologize where you need to. And this is like a little sub tip for you. I would practice your apology and what you're going to say. Honestly, like I would. I don't want it to come across robotic when you're talking to them or anything like that. But I think it's really important to know like what you're going to say and what you need to apologize for. Because let's be honest, when we have a fight with somebody, 99% of the time there is part of it that we need to own up to, that we need to apologize for. And so I want you to be really clear on what that is and what you are sorry for. Maybe this was totally your fault. And that you've like practiced that and rehearsed it. Not that it comes across like emotionless and like you don't care and like you're just like, I know I need to say sorry about this, so I'm really sorry about this. But I don't know about you, but when I get in front of somebody, especially somebody I like and love, and I've hurt their feelings and I've done something wrong, it's really hard for those words to come out. And so practice and rehearse that and know exactly what you are going to apologize for and what is your part of this fight, because this is so important. And this is my third tip for you. Don't over apologize. And I am like so intense on this tip because I did this. So, you know that young man that I was like, he didn't want to talk to me in person. I had said, we were texting each other, like flirty fun. And I said something like, oh, I know that I could take you in a wrestling match. Like truly, like that is what I said. And he got so offended and he was like, I can't believe like you would say that I'm wimpy. And like, I didn't say that he was wimpy, but he took it that way. You know, and so guess what? I knew that I needed to apologize for saying like, that like, how do I, see, this is why you gotta like think it through. I needed to apologize that, you know, my text hurt his feelings because I genuinely didn't mean it to hurt his feelings. But when I got there, I was just like, I'm so sorry. And I can't believe that I would say something so stupid. And he just like, was making it such a big deal, and I was like eating into that of just like, please forgive me and I'm so sorry, and like it just like was becoming so much more than it was. And I wish that I'd had the confidence to take a step back and just like the knowledge, having a coach talk to me and say, guess what? You sent a text that you meant as a joke. He didn't take it as a joke. You've come over, you've told him you're sorry. And if he's a mature individual, he's going to give you a hug and say, you know what, I forgive you. And like, yeah, we just won't tease about that in the future, you know? But no, instead he made it like a big deal. And then before I knew it, I was apologizing for not being a good girlfriend and for not, it just like became so big. And I was like, years later, I'm like, guess what? I'm sorry that I tease you. That's why I don't preach, like I tell people, do not tease because you never know how it's going to be taken. But like, that was like a big deal that he was making into a way bigger deal and trying to make me feel really bad about it. So I want you to go in knowing what you need to own, but also what you don't need to own, because a lot of times with somebody we love, we try to take it on. If there's any like, and I like don't want to sound dramatic or anything, but this young man that I dated in particular, not just this instance, but as an adult, as having received therapy and like looking back on it with those eyes, he was emotionally abusive. And one way a person can be emotionally abusive is they make you take ownership of things that aren't your fault, you know, and all of a sudden you are apologizing for all these things that you didn't do, that aren't bad, that aren't things that you need to apologize for. So when it comes to your fights with your significant others, like, know what you need to apologize for and don't over apologize for things that aren't your fault. This tip is going to help you keep this fight very grounded and very mature, and that is to use I statements. Do you remember these from elementary school when they taught you to like say I statements when you got like, I think it was about bullying. I don't like it when you do this. Use I statements, and it's true. They work because they help like neutralize the situation. And instead of going in and being like, well, you were such a jerk and you said that I was wimpy over text and that you could take me in a wrestling match and you just got your feelings hurt and you shouldn't be so sensitive, blah, blah, blah. Instead of that, you come in and you say, you know what you're going to apologize for, and you say, hey, I'm really sorry that I was trying to tease you over that text and it hurt your feelings. I'm very sorry. I did not mean that at all. I think that you're very strong and amazing. I love you, right? That helps keep it really grounded, because you want to just really like not pass judgments on them. And what I mean by that is saying, I know that you're so mad and I know that you just hate me now, and I just can't believe that you would ever be so mean and malicious to just like you. And I'm assuming you're mad, and I'm assuming you hate me, and I'm assuming all these things. That just like, boom, that's like 10 fights in one fight. Have you ever had that fight where you start out fighting about something super silly like a text, and before you know it, you're fighting about something way bigger and something way more like ambiguous? Like, I know that I always make you mad. Blah, 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 you know? So when you use I statements, you keep it really grounded. And that's another statement that I would practice. That's another thing that I would know my points of what I'm going to talk about when I meet my boyfriend in person to talk about why we had this fight. If it wasn't your fault and, you know, you're just kind of having this fight and it's a little bit more ambiguous, you know, you might use I statements that are like, hey, I felt really insecure, and I really felt betrayed when I found out that you took Sally to go get ice cream at the mall, because I know that you've told me that you two are just friends, but to me that's a date, you know, and to me like I would never take another guy to go get ice cream without talking to you about it, you know? So you're staying more neutral. And even that statement that I said had a couple like triggering words, so you might want to like work on that as you like practice and rehearse it. But that way it doesn't come like across in just such this heated way that you're going to fight even more. Because if I came in, same situation, and I was like, I know that you like Sally and you took her on this date and you went to the ice cream court and you like got this ice cream and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's not a lot of room in there for them to even defend themselves when you come in really heated. That's the beauty of I statements. So going back to elementary school and our I statements, but they're really going to help you intelligently and maturely talk about your fight in a way that's going to minimize the emotions as best we can. And talking about those emotions, we are going to try to keep it emotionally neutral. Now, I spent a ton of time talking about I statements, and that will keep your statements a little bit more emotionally neutral and a little bit more mature and focused. So this tip is more about the actual tactics of having hard conversations, and that is to keep it emotionally neutral. So there's a lot of ways that we've picked up from our parents, honestly, or from the adults that we're around, or even like media that we've seen or people we admire, and it bleeds into how we fight. Is that so weird? But the next time you have a fight with your sister or your boyfriend or somebody, notice if you do a tactic that your mom does. If you give them the silent treatment because that's how your family does it. Or if you yell and scream because that's the way that your grandma and grandpa do it. You know, we've picked up these bad habits. And so it's really important to really start fresh, especially with somebody that we love and somebody that we have a relationship with, to keep it emotionally neutral. And so that means no silent treatment. That means like this guy, I keep talking about this story, but it was just like, it rocked my world. This guy that I sent the text to, and I finally had to just show up, and then guess what? He wouldn't talk to me. Like, not that he was like, oh, you can't come in my house. He let me come in his like house, and we sat there, and I just was like, hey, I'm really sorry, and I over apologized for everything. And he just sat there, and he was like, like puppy dog. He didn't talk to me. And do you know what that, like, I'd never experienced that before because I didn't come from a family of the silent treatment. I just felt so powerless, and I felt it's actually like a little bit of that emotional abuse because I was like, talk to me. Hey, I'm here. Like, I'm trying to show you how much I care because I'm here. And he'd just be like, yeah. You can't like have a conversation or honestly a relationship with somebody that's not willing to talk to you. Now, yes, with my husband, sometimes I've had to say things like, hey, I can't be emotionally neutral right now. Like, I want to cry, I want to scream, I want to, like, I'm just so mad that I need time. So can we have this fight in 20 minutes? Can I go on a walk around the block and then we talk about this? That's my attempts to keep it emotionally neutral when I can't anymore. When I'm like, I'm so mad, I'm going to go throw something, you know? So if that's you, like, take that break, but communicate that. Keep it emotionally neutral in that crying isn't bad. I want to like say that right now. Crying isn't bad, but crying to make him feel bad is emotionally abusive. So, and that sounds so harsh, but it's manipulation of just like, I'm going to break down and cry because then he gives me what I want, right? Or then he just apologizes and says, okay, whatever. There's a difference between like, I care a lot about this, so I'm crying, and I'm crying because I want you to see how bad you've hurt me. I'm crying because I want you to feel bad, you know? So I hope that you can be honest with yourself and say like, have I used those tactics in the past? Because trying to keep it emotionally neutral is a very extremely mature skill. It's something I'm still working on. But I give it to you because it is really solid advice for dealing with any fight in your life of, you know, not being afraid of your emotions, but keeping them in check and making sure that they're coming from you as a genuine person versus yelling to force yourself to be heard. Or, you know, being like, hey, I need time to cry. Like, I've actually said that to my husband before. Like, we've been in fights and I've gotten so heated and so emotional that I just want to sob my eyes out for a little bit. And I know him, and I know that he will just like cave and not want to talk about it anymore and just like tell me he's really sorry and whatever when I start to cry that bad. So there's been times where I'm like, I need to talk about this later. I'll go cry my eyes out. And then when I can get to a spot where I'm like, okay, I can actually talk about this like an intelligent person, that's when we can go and finish our conversation. So emotion isn't bad, but we just have to make sure it's coming from a genuine place and a place that we can keep it as neutral as possible. Okay, have we talked about I statements and emotionally neutral and not apologizing for things that aren't your fault enough? Okay, girl, I hope so, because like all of us, every single one of us, we're going to have a fight with our significant other. We are totally gonna have a fight with our boyfriend and our husband and our besties, and I want to give you the tools to be able to intelligently work through that, maturely work through that, because that's my job as your life coach. And conflict is actually part of life. So don't worry if you've gotten in a fight, it's like actually part of life. And while we want to obviously get better and be like the goal, somebody said this to me one time in like marriage advice. They said, as long as your fights are getting like further spread out and that you feel like you can handle them quickly and you feel like you can like talk about it, address it and fix it and correct the problem, then you're on the right path, right? It's not that we don't have fights. People sometimes think that the perfect relationship means no conflict. And that's not true. We're human beings and we're wired for conflict and connection and for like figuring out, especially like for people that we're passionate about. There's a lot of conflict and emotion there. So I'm wishing you the best of luck. If you have a question, like leave it down for me below. If you feel like you need extra dating help, check out my Dating Queen Academy, which is my dating course for babes who are young adults looking to make, you know, these amazing lasting relationships in their life and to figure out like how, like what are the basics of a relationship and how do I really stand out on dates. That's what I talk about in my course. So check that out. It's on my website, abbywinslow.com. And of course, I cannot wait to see you in my next video. So Abby J out.